Brad Woodhouse is in studio. He is president of Americans United for Change, AmericansUnitedForChange.org. We're joined by labor reporter for Huffington Post, Dave Jamieson. Hey, Dave. Good to see you this morning.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, lots going on here. Thanks for coming in. I want to start off with the minimum wage. President Obama has proposed the federal minimum wage is now $7.25. The president has proposed legislation in Congress to raise that to $9. Is it or $9?
That's the president's proposal.
President's proposal. Is it going anywhere?
Not at the moment. Not with the House the way it is.
Just got to get a little closer to that microphone. There you go. Right.
The congressional Democrats they actually want it even higher than the president's proposed. George Miller and Harkin wanted it at 10-10. The House GOP leadership naturally called this a job killer immediately. It's from my perspective, it's hard to see this moving anywhere this year. I think it might have a better shot next year. But the administration is starting to make a push on this. Tom Perez, who's now in as labor secretary, has been stumping on this. So he's getting very vocal about it. But the way things are on the Hill right now, and still with a tepid recovery, I think we're going to hear Republicans just saying job killer, job killer, job killer.
Yeah, Brad, I've been around this political game for 30 years or so, and I've heard that job killer every time the minimum wage comes up.
It doesn't matter what the economic circumstances are. We can have a tepid recovery. Right. We can have a gangbuster recovery. We can be in the middle of a recession. And they always say that it's a job killer. You know what?
It ought to be a no-brainer.
You know what it's going to be for them? It's going to be an election killer for some people. It is one of the most popular proposals the president made in his State of the Union address.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. The sky is always going to fall. It never really does fall. The minimum wage only goes up over time. We all know that. I mean, there's some on the fringe who'd want to see it abolished, but look, it goes up. That's what it does. It erodes over time, and so eventually you raise it. And we never do see the economic calamity that a lot on the right do predict.
We have enough experience of raising the minimum wage over the years that if in fact it were a job killer, we would know that, and so we know it is not. So, but there are some interesting things that are happening on the positive side. California, where the minimum wage and states can go higher. Minimum wage is $8. They just passed legislation in the state senate to raise it to $10. Jerry Brown says he'll sign it. And then you've got these one-day strikes organized by the SEIU around the country of the fast food workers who are saying we can't make it on $7.25. It's $15 to survive, or whatever their jingo is.
Yeah, the reason we see states moving it up, it's because of federal inaction and because it's a popular idea. This polls really, really well, and that includes conservatives. I mean, conservatives don't like it as much as liberals, but they generally do like a higher minimum wage. And so that's why we see proposals in places like California and other states, and a lot of states now have enacted laws that keep it intact with inflation so that it automatically goes up every year. And so basically we're seeing states run way beyond the federal level now, which at $7.25 is not very much. You're talking about a salary of around $14,000. Try getting by on that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And this is a situation where I always wonder, who are Republicans fighting for? I mean, just a narrow set of corporate CEOs or stockholders at companies that feel like they're gonna have to pay their workers a little bit more money. It is so vastly popular, and I'll tell you this: at a time where you see all of the data about what's happened with wages and where the wealth is accruing in this country, and it's certainly not in the bottom 99 or 95%. We may not ever get the votes in the House during this session of Congress to increase the minimum wage, but I tell you what, it is a fight worth having.
But even if you raise the minimum wage to $9 an hour, I'm pretty sure people would still be working 40. If they work 40 hours a week at $9 an hour, they'd still be working below the poverty level. I mean, so we're arguing about giving people enough money to live in poverty,
to remain in poverty.
To remain in poverty. hello. I mean, I like you don't see who the opposition are fighting for, other than a very, very small percentage of employers.
It's hard to argue that McDonald's, say, couldn't handle a wage of $10 as opposed to the 8 or so that they're paying right now. I don't see how you make that argument that these companies and it's predominantly companies of significant scale that are paying these wages, that they can't handle paying a little more.
Right. The AFLCIO, it's a week now, their last weekend, their big convention in Los Angeles, where the head of the AFL-CIO, Richard Trumka, reached out in a very dramatic way to the labor union, saying, you know what, our membership is down. We're not winning as many battles as we should and want to. We're going to need some help. So I'm suggesting we expand not the membership in the AFL, but bring in like associate members or whatever, going to some progressive organizations like the National Association for Women, even the Sierra Club, to join us in some of these battles. That's pretty revolutionary stuff.
It is. It's a pretty big deal. I talked with Rich Trumka about this before the convention, and he used the word crisis in describing the labor movement. That was his word. The unions are at about 6.6% of the private sector. That's historically the lowest we've ever seen.
But you add the public sector, is still only 11 or 12% right, which is the lowest.
And public sector numbers actually went down last year, that's very rare for that to happen. So, after everything we've seen,
with all these budget cuts, of course they went down.
Sure. Yeah. So I think they are in crisis mode, and so what do? You try to broaden the tent a bit and bring in more allies, and that's what they're trying to do. And so they reach out to groups like Sierra Club and NAACP and other progressive players, and it's yet to be worked out sort of formally how this will work and if there are voting powers or what. But the idea is that labor can no longer do it alone, and that they need to kind of refashion the idea of labor and make other progressive allies understand what role they play in work and in labor.
Brad Woodhouse, I don't know any better political organizer than you, my friend. I mean, isn't this just basic? That's what it is.
Well, look, it's common sense, I think. I mean, that you have to come together and work on, progressives have to come together under an umbrella and work on the agenda they can achieve, and then things you disagree on, you don't sit at that table together.
Let me just get together on the issues you agree on. Right?
Let me just say something. I do think the labor movement is turning a corner. The first thing that they needed to do was stop being at war with one another. Remember the big split years ago, and of course there's still a number of unions that are out, but that are out. A number have come back. AFSCME and SEIU, they have organizing fights around the country, but they are working together. For example, they're both AFSCME and SEIU chair our board, and they work together. They work together through us on a number of progressive issues. And I think Trumka is. I think he's such a smart guy. I think he understands new technology. I think he understands the old media, new media, and I think that this initiative, with I think his savvy in the media sphere, has a chance for success.
Right. So does this did it get a vote, or where is it? Is it happening? Is it going to happen, or what's the status?
The convention was more or less laying this out to members, and they're going to move from there. One interesting thing about this is partly we're seeing the AFL-CIO become even more of a political animal, as opposed to an organization devoted to organizing, the way like Change to Win and SEIU, pouring money into getting workers and win union elections. I think we're seeing the AFL-CIO become even more of kind of a Washington political animal, and that's there could be a lot of benefits to that, and I think there are some dangers too.
Well, it seems to me you have an issue like the Keystone Pipeline, right? Not the unions and the Sierra Club are not going to be together on that, but you can take an issue like the minimum wage,
right,
or a lot of other environmental issues, green jobs, right? Where they could join forces and get maybe some climate change legislation through the Congress. It's a win-win in that case.
And look,
you look for those opportunities.
Well, you look for those opportunities, and also I think the you can't understate the importance of the political side here. I mean, no matter what your priority is. I mean, one thing the SEIU and AFLCIO can agree on is that they want a Democrat to be Speaker of the House of Representatives, and then they can go lobby their different issues to that speaker and get a hearing. They can't get a hearing with John Boehner about either one of the issues that the many issues that they care about.
Yeah.